In this video, we're going to talk about making your AtBot into a texting bot. One quick feature addition in Azure can make your favorite chatbot fluent in all aspects of SMS. Today's demo is using AtBot's web and SMS bots, which are a premium service. If you aren't using web and SMS bots yet, you can get a free 30-day trial today. Just grab the link in the video description. Here's a quick overview of what we'll be doing to get that bot into your favorite text messenger. In less than 20 minutes, we'll have a fully functional SMS bot that you can use as inspiration for building your own bots. First, we're going to start a free trial of Twilio, which is Microsoft's preferred SMS channel for Azure Bot Framework. This is the only step of the process that's in any way different from creating any other custom bot. This takes about 10 minutes, is completely free to try, and requires no payment information. Next, we'll create the bot framework registration in Azure, just like with any other AtBot custom bot. Then, we'll add the direct line and Twilio channels to the bot framework registration so we can actually talk with our bot. Next, we'll pull our bot registration through to the AtBot admin portal so we can get everything set up from there. And last, we'll build a skill and test. Now, let's get started. First, let's create a trial Twilio account. We'll go to twilio.com/try-twilio. We're going to add our name and our email address. Note there are some serious password requirements here, so I actually grabbed these from a password manager. Next, we're doing a two-factor authentication here, so provide your phone number. The account is not tied to your phone number, so you can do this with multiple different emails and use the same phone number. Once you get your verification code, just provide that. Do I write code? Of course not. I use AtBot. I don't need to write code. So skipping to our dashboard, you'll now see that I have access to everything within Twilio, and I have a trial balance of $15.50. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reserve a phone number. So this is the phone number that I'm going to be using for texting. It supports voice, SMS, and MMS. And once I've got it, it gives me a confirmation, and you'll see that it deducted $1 from my trial balance. So that's how much one of those phone numbers costs. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create what's called a TWIML app. The instructions for this are coming from the Azure documentation and Twilio's documentation as well. So here I'm going to create the TWIML app with a name. So I'm going to be using the name TextyBot throughout this whole demo. And the request URL is coming from the Azure website, which you can find the link to that in the video description. So now we have our TWIML app created. Now we need to update our phone number so that the TWIML app and the phone number are connected. So see under messaging, I have an option for configuring with a TWIML app, and then I get to choose the TWIML app that I created, which is TextyBot. I will save that. And we're all set for now with Twilio. So now I'm going to go over to the Azure portal because we're going to create our bot framework registration. Just do a quick login here. Okay, so once we're in the Azure portal, we're going to create a resource, and then we're going to search for bot registration. If you've ever created an AtBot before, a custom AtBot, this is precisely the way you do it normally. And I'm also going to bring up the AtBot admin portal because I actually have to get the messaging endpoint so that there's a that's step one in connecting your bot framework registration to AtBot. So I will get logged in here. I will create my TextyBot under the web and SMS bot section of the portal. And once this is created in the shell of this is created in AtBot, I will grab the messaging endpoint. And I need this before I can actually create the registration in Azure. And let me give this a name. Oh, and that's right. Azure doesn't let you put spaces between their resource names. And click Create. So this will take a minute to create, and you'll get a notification in the top right that your bot is available. We will have to put in a couple other connections here. So one's going to be the app ID and the app secret, and then we're also going to get our channels connected in a second. Perfect. So our deployment is done, so I'm going to click that Go to Resource, and this gives me all the information about TextyBot. So first thing we are going to do is we're going to add our channels. So the first one is direct line, because we always want to be able to test our bot in the AtBot admin portal, which requires direct line. So I'm just going to grab one of these keys for direct line, copy it, and I'm going to bring it over to the admin portal, add that to our bot channels. And now we're going to add the Twilio channel. So that's down in the bottom right. That is Microsoft's preferred SMS support. And you'll see here we're going to provide the phone number, the account SID, and the auth token. So I can type that in, and I think formatting matters here, so I'm going to add my and now we'll copy the SID from Twilio. And let's grab that auth token. Let's add that, click save. And boom, our registration is now connected to both Twilio and direct line. Now let's grab our app ID and app secret so we can finish the connection to AtBot. And we are going to go into our deployments and resources. And now our inputs to grab the app ID. We will paste that. And now we'll copy the app secret and we will paste that. And once we're done, we cannot forget to save the updates to this bot. And now we are good. So AtBot's connected to a Twilio-enabled bot registration. So we're done with Azure and Twilio for now, which is great. Let's make a couple changes to the messages TextyBot sends. So I'm going to change the welcome message, so I know when I test it out that it's actually the message that I sent and not something else. So that's sort of a quick test to make sure everything works correctly. The other thing to mention here is that you can't use the word help as a default to get the help message from bots when you're using Twilio. Twilio actually has restricted that word, so I wanted to remove that from the default message, because if I said help, if I tell the user to say help and they say help, they will actually get Twilio's help, not the AtBot help. So that's just a heads up. So now I've made the changes and saved that, and you'll see that the new message pops up, and that's great. So we are good to go there. So now we're going to make the skill for this demo. So I'm going to jump over to Flow, and I'm going to jump into My Flows, create new, from blank. And this is going to be a simple flow. What's going to happen here is we're just going to get some information from the user, and then we're going to actually take advantage of adaptive cards, and we're going to send one back. So this one, I'm just calling it TextyBot asks for help. But always forget, or never forget to put a title in. And I'm going to use just the simple when an intent is used, but I very much would always recommend using our intent vectors through AtBot. So that's the when a registered intent is used trigger, but we're just going to use a key phrase called customer info. So that's going to be what somebody says to trigger this bot to come back asking for this info. So these are all going to be a bunch of GET responses. So we're just going to ask the user for some various info in a number of steps. So the first one we're going to ask is the person's name. So let's put that in here. So hi there, I'm going to show you some cool stuff. First, what is your name? And we'll add the reply activity. And let's rename this so that we know the piece of data we're getting, because we'll actually use that a little bit later. And next, we're going to get another GET response, and this is going to be the user's email address. So we'll be a little bit fancy here, and we'll be personal. So we'll say thanks, and then comma the user's name, which is the name they provided in the last step, just to show how easy it is to use that. And then we'll ask for their email address, and then add the reply activity. And let's update this name so we know what we're getting. Now let's add another GET response, and we will ask the user for their phone number. We'll rename this too. And your phone number, and we'll add the reply activity. Now keep in mind, this is a really crude demo. This is where you could put in some error checking or making sure that the format coming through is correct. You know, if you're expecting 11 digits and somebody does not provide that, you want to respond and say, no, sorry, that's not a format we recognize, you know, that kind of thing. So this would be a good place to put that. So have a condition to check the value, make sure it's right. If it's not, come back and say, hey, do something else. So our next question here, we're going to ask about the hometown of the user. Of course, toss in our reply activity here too. And just for fun, we're going to show one more get response. We're going to ask the user what their favorite fruit is. So let's rename this one so we know which this one is as well. And reply activity. Now we're going to take all this information, we're going to put it together into one adaptive card and send the card as the response. So let's jump into the admin portal and go to AI integrations and adaptive cards, and let's create a new card from template. We have two types. We have display or forms, and display is going to be what we're going to send because we are not asking for more information. And I'm going to open the card editor, and this card editor is awesome. So we have some templates up in the top right, and I'm going to use the contact card as the display template. It's a really good starting point. Now we don't have the photo of the person, so we'll remove that. And we'll play around with some of the options here. We don't need job title, so we'll get rid of that. But we do want name, right? That is something we're using. And just to play around, let's change the size of this, make it a little bit bigger. We'll remove that one, but we want to show these pieces of data that we brought in. So let's change the facts that we have here and make them match what input we asked. So let's keep phone and email. We added hometown. That other option was a button. We didn't really need that, but let's add a text box. And here what we're going to do is we're going to add a title section for your favorite fruit because we do take that information in. And let's add one more text box below that. And this will actually be the fruit name. So we can replace any of the data that you see here with information that we pull in and add it. And let's make this a little bit bigger and let's change the color a little bit. And let's change the name color as well so it stands out more, just to show you what it can do. Okay, cool. So let's save that, press OK. All right, so it looks like we don't have all the data that I actually wanted to get. So, I provided an ID for the favorite fruit text box. So we definitely need that. Name has a name, everything else has names, we're good there, so let's save that. Okay, perfect. Now you see under the dynamic properties that we have the 5, that's what I wanted. So we saved that, we updated that card, press OK, and now we'll jump back to Flow. So the next and last step we're going to do in here is if you search under adaptive card, you'll see in AtBot we have a couple options. For this one we're going to send an adaptive card reply, and let's rename this to, we'll just call it send card so we know what the step is. And from here, we now have a connection to AtBot, or to the admin portal, and it has all of our adaptive cards. So I'm going to choose the one that we had just put in, and then each one of these fields now is available, and I can drop in the data that comes in from the responses before. So this is where that naming of the steps matters, because you can see get response username, get response phone number, get response email, all that stuff. We want to get the response text from that, and we will drop those right in there. And last but not least, we will add the hometown. Okay, so let's click save, and now we have a skill. So let's jump back to the admin portal, and now we have to categorize our skills. In fact, we have to create a category. So let's create that TextyBot category. Let's go into shared skills. You'll now see that that skill is available. So I need to categorize that as TextyBot. So I can then assign the TextyBot category to the bot, and then the bot has access to those skills. So we have a lot of skills here, but that's now the only one underneath TextyBot category. So let's go into our SMS bots, go into TextyBot, and this is where we're going to assign the TextyBot category to the bot. And let's save that. So now the bot knows this skill because it knows the category key phrase so that we know that we will kick off the skill. So let's paste that in and send it. All right, so now you see our first step is, hi there, I'm going to show you some cool stuff. First, what's your name? So let's respond. Say John Smith. And you'll see we got John Smith returned back. My email address, we'll say I own smithcompany.co. Let's give you my phone number. And my hometown will say is New York City. And favorite fruit is, we'll go with star fruit. Great. So now you see the adaptive card comes back. It looks beautiful. It's a nice graphical layout. All that text is available to us to use later on if we need to. But we really want to check this out in text. So using the phone number that we have from Twilio, I can now do the exact same thing and kick off this process by saying customer info to that phone number. So it's asking here, what is your name? So in this case, I'll say Jane Doe. And let's add an email address. We'll say she works for Doe Insurance Company. And what is my phone number? My hometown, let's say I'm from LA this time. And my favorite fruit, let's say it's pineapple. All right, so in this case, you'll also notice that each of the text messages starts with the phrase sent from your Twilio trial account. Once you pay for an account, that doesn't show up. So that's why that's showing up right now, because we went with a trial, but it's a really great use case for a POC for free. No concerns there. Once we get the adaptive card back, and what takes a little bit of time here is the fact that it's creating a PNG. It's sending back an image file because SMS does not support a full, text experience. So if I click on this and zoom in, you can see all that information is there. It's in a beautiful image format, so I can use this, share it, all that kind of thing. And that's it. So within 20 minutes or so, we set up a Twilio account, we created that bot framework registration, added the 2 channels to it, and we went from there. Now, a few things to cover in this that I think are important. First, let's talk about use cases. Why would you want a text bot? So here are some good use cases to provide you some inspiration. Try out, providing travel status updates from travel agencies, travel-based companies, or booking services like Concur and others. Internally at your company, you can connect to third-party cloud apps to send automatic updates to employees about travel delays, reminders, or anything else related to a trip. Finance-related notifications can be sent to people in finance and accounting departments when current transactions take place, or don't. From the outside, you can provide customers information on their finances if you're in that industry. So account balances, transfers, or other account information like routing numbers could be just a text away. Any municipality can really benefit from receiving or sending smart city reports and notifications. Ask residents to report utility problems, street repair requests, broken traffic lights, and other non-emergency reports. And remember, this can be done hands-free in a car. From the municipality end, you can easily contact your residents about new services, reminders to vote, or when a boil water advisory goes out. Your bot is able to respond easily to follow-up questions in a way no communications department ever could. Let your customers follow order status via your text bot, so let customers know their order is in process and provide them a number to text to request status updates. Customer service is one of the easiest things to automate with bots, and texting makes it that much easier to take advantage of. Be able to answer your most common questions, kick off the highest value workflows, and more with your customer care text bot. Next, you want to consider some best practices. So here are some of the big ones. First, keep your bot messages short, even shorter than in normal chat. It's difficult to read longer messages via text than it is in Teams or on a website. Next, make the most of our Lewis and 10 vectors because they help you clarify your users' needs in a communication platform that errs on the side of brevity. Therefore, so less information provided to your bot. So intent vectors ensure all the necessary data is garnered before kicking off any workflows, so there's no workaround or back and forth that may not be actually necessary in the end. Use a URL shortener to shorten any URLs before they get sent in a response, if that's possible. Hypertext, where you have a word that you would normally click like in an email, that's not supported by SMS, so you'll have the full URL displayed in the text, and that can make a text extremely long. So the shorter the URL, the easier it is to read, and the less it overtakes the other content of the message, which is really the important part. In the US, Twilio provides you a standard 11-digit phone number, but you can upgrade to a short code. Short codes are easier to remember for your customers and users. It's very similar to having a vanity URL, and it's one of those where text 123 to 56789, that kind of thing. Much easier than pushing a standard length phone number. Okay, then there are a couple caveats that you should probably be aware of. First, buttons don't work in SMS, so you can't use actionable answers. I didn't mention Q&A Maker, but you can easily provide FAQs and conversational aspects to a bot just by creating a Q&A Maker knowledge base. But our actionable answer syntax, where you put 2 colons around a word or phrase and it makes a button in Teams or on a website, that won't work in this case. So don't use those. Now you'll see SMS does support adaptive cards. We use it in this demo, but they actually may be a better way to send a lot of information at once in a clean and understandable way. Just note that they're sent as images, like I mentioned, but you won't be able to send them in a carousel. You can send multiple, but they're each in an individual text. Okay, and send choice reply actions continue to work, even though buttons don't show. But instead, Twilio will send 2 messages. The first is going to be the question or the input request, and the next is going to be a list of responses with an auto-generated numbering next to each choice. And then the recipient of that text can respond with the number of the choice to provide their input, as opposed to having to, text back the exact response that they're supposed to be providing. And as I mentioned before, the word help is reserved by Twilio, and it's not going to bring up the bot's help menu. So instead, provide a help message in your Q&A Maker conversation. So if the person asks something that's a little bit, veering towards the side of I don't really understand, make sure Q&A Maker has some conversational responses to hold their hand and pull them along as they go. And that's it. We were able to create a robust SMS bot without any code along the way. And the best part is building out a proof of concept was completely free. So if you're antsy about giving out payment info before starting a formal relationship with any of these companies, no worries there. If you're interested in trying this out, feel free to grab our SMS bot Jumpstart Guide to claim your free 30-day trial to build out a great proof of concept risk-free. Links and resources are in the video description. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel to get updates and best practices on how to build tomorrow's automated workforce with AtBot.